family cars are supposed to be boring, functional. But it seems the people at Cadillac didn't quite get that memo when they built this. The Escalade V, the fastest, most powerful large SUV the company has ever built. Ordinarily, I'd bring you a review focusing only on the space, practicality, comfort, and how good it is for the family. But I have relieved myself of such burdens, and today I find myself on a racetrack in the middle of the Californian tundra. An unusual situation for a family bus to find itself in, but what's the point in having a performance car if you never see how it performs? Time for a launch control. Forget the kids, Daddy's got a caddy, and not just any Cadillac, a Cadillac Escalade V. The fastest, most Cadillac that Cadillac has ever Cadillac'd. Cadillac! Oh my God. That first turn's a doozy. This thing's hilarious. It's like driving a fridge. The Escalade V is a monster by any definition. It can run the quarter mile in around 13 seconds, astonishing given its size. It's based on the standard Escalade but has some upgrades. Under that very tall, very long bonnet is a 6.2-litre supercharged V8 belting out 682 horsepower and 885 Newton meters of torque. And when I say it belts it out, it really does belt it out. Listen to that exhaust, for goodness sake. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a dinosaur who stepped on Lego while gargling a bag full of hand grenades. Come on. There's actually a quiet mode, believe it or not. I'm going to engage that for you now and just let you listen to what it sounds like in its subdued setting. Yeah, not very quiet, is it? Let's turn it up, put it back into V mode, and listen to this thing sing. Woo! Oh, I've got a warning. Reduce braking to avoid overheating. Yeah! We're gonna back it off. We're gonna back it off. For obvious reasons. Wow. Cadillac often gives the Blackwing badge to its performance offerings, but it's left that badge off the Escalade V. And that's because Blackwings are usually track ready, designed not just for forward acceleration, but also for braking and handling. The Escalade V's main performance objective is straight line speed, but when it comes to reducing that speed repeatedly, it's slightly less effective, at least on a track. Wow, I've got to say, something this big should not be this fast. Look at the size of it compared to me. I definitely wouldn't want to get hit by this thing. Anyway, in terms of looks, it's pretty similar to the standard Escalade, but that's no bad thing because in Europe and the UK, we don't really get this car, so it's still a bit of a novelty for me. Look how big that grille is. That's about 3 feet wide. Look at the size of the badge, pretty much as big as my hand. And then look at the size of these indicators at the front. Absolutely ginormous. Speaking of ginormous, you get big wheels. You can get 23s on this car. These are 22s and they have the V badge embedded inside them. Speaking of the V badge, you also get these on either side and in the puddle lights, plus in a light that projects on the floor at the back. Oh, and special shout out to these side steps, which pop out whenever you open the door, just to make it easier to get in and out of. Very cool. Around the back, you'll find enormous vertical light clusters, a diffuser surely offering no downforce whatsoever, and 2 ways of accessing the boot. The first via a button for opening the rear glass, and the second via the Cadillac badge, which opens the tailgate. Once inside, you'll find a decent sized boot. Buttons on the side let you fold the third and second row of seats down to give you as much storage as you need. It's genuinely enormous. In the third row, there's lots of room for 2 adults back there, with plenty of leg and headroom, cup holders, and USB ports.
The second row also has lots of space, and with all modern conveniences, including a pretty decent rear seat entertainment system focused mainly on video in the form of YouTube, YouTube Kids, and Hulu. The car also has built-in Wi-Fi, so streaming on the move is easy and surprisingly reliable. And it's luxurious throughout, with comfortable seats, a good mixture of premium materials, and a nicely designed cabin you'll enjoy sitting in for hours at a time.
In terms of technology, there's a lot going on in this car. The screen up here is enormous. It has 38 inches of screen real estate divided up into 3 separate sections. On the far left-hand side, you can control things like your trip computer. I've been averaging 11.4 mpg, US that is. That's probably around 15 miles per gallon in the UK. And I can also control my head-up display and change what happens on this central screen. I can actually have a night vision system at night only. I can have a map come upon the display, or I can select the AR camera, augmented reality. That shows me a camera view of what's happening in front of me, plus some AR features, which I'll show you a bit later on. On the right-hand side, we have our main infotainment screen. The first screen on this screen has big shortcuts to your favorite features, but you swipe along and then you get lots of little icons that give you instant access to all your favorite apps. Apps which include Alexa, audiobooks, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, the works. There's a lot happening in this display, and it's all very, very simple to use as well. More tech? No problem. I have speakers in my headrests. I've also got 3 separate shortcut buttons for my garage opening or electric gate opening. I can control the rear seats from up here and actually fold little Johnny in half if he gets out of line. And I can open the boot to different heights, which is very, very handy if you're parked in a parking garage with a low roof. You want more, don't you? I've got more for you, because in here is a fridge. Yes, in here you can actually store cool drinks, and it is very, very cold. I reckon that'll probably be cold enough to freeze things, actually. Very, very good. Yeah, Cadillac Escalade V, loving every bit of it.
Another nice touch, if you live in America, is that the Escalade V can drive itself with Supercruise, a form of cruise control that lets the car accelerate, brake, and steer without human assistance. Unlike some systems, you never actually need to touch the pedals or the steering wheel at all. It will drive itself for hundreds of miles uninterrupted, changing lanes on command, and even overtaking slower moving traffic by itself. When you do want to take control, the augmented reality navigation system shows you on the screen exactly where you need to turn. One caveat, it only works on motorways that have been mapped and are present on the Supercruise database. Ordinary roads aren't catered for, and neither, unsurprisingly, are racetracks. Not that you'd want it to drive itself on one of those.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We all know what it's going to be. Weight. I'm going to try and brake a little more lightly and a little earlier before we get to the corners, just to avoid that overheating issue that arose earlier on. You're not quite sure what's going to happen when you arrive at a corner in this thing. It's not a performance car in the traditional sense of the word. Straight line performance, absolutely, but braking and turning, maybe not so much. Your first thought when you go into a corner actually is whether it's going to understeer or overturn, and you kind of have to drive around those possibilities. To be fair though, for a car that weighs 6,200 pounds, whew, that's 2.8 tons, this actually ain't too bad. I mean, when are you ever gonna find yourself on a racetrack in an SUV that can carry 7 people? It's just not gonna happen. But when you bear that in mind, I think there's a lot of fun that can be had with this thing. Find yourself a track that isn't too twisty, that's got a lot of long straights, enjoy that big old V8, and just be gentle on the brakes, and you can actually have some fun in this thing. I mean, look at me. Am I enjoying myself? You're damn right I am. It's fair to say that there are a ton of other slightly smaller SUVs that offer a whole host of driving aids to enable them to go around corners much more impressively than this. I'm talking about things like the Lamborghini Urus or the Ferrari Purosangue. And a lot of those cars are littered with features like 48-volt active anti-roll stabilization that keep them level in the corners. How's this in the Benz? Yeah, there's a little bit of roll. It's not extreme, but it is there to remind you of just how big and heavy this thing is.
To be clear, you should not take your Escalade V on a track, at least not with the expectation that it will complete multiple fast laps. But it's also a car that's too fast and too powerful to fully enjoy on the public road. The best case scenario is to occasionally leave the family at home, take it to a drag strip or an airfield, and give the engine some room to do its thing. It's massively overpowered and all the more hilarious for it.